Title: To Kill a Mockingbird, Part 1. Chapter 1 begins with Scout explaining how Jem broke his arm. Scout Finch narrates the story as an adult, looking back at her childhood. She explains her family background and introduces her father, Atticus Finch, and her brother Jem. We meet Dill, a boy visiting for the summer. The children become fascinated by the mysterious Boo Radley, who never leaves his house. They create stories and dare each other to approach the Radley house. Chapter 2 begins with Scout's first day of school. Scout starts school and quickly clashes with her teacher, Miss Caroline, who misunderstands Maycomb's social customs. Scout tries to explain the Cunningham family's pride, but gets punished instead. Chapter 3 begins with Scout fighting Walter Cunningham. Scout fights Walter for getting her in trouble. Atticus makes her see things from Walter's perspective. At dinner, Walter pours syrup on everything, embarrassing Scout. Later, Miss Caroline is horrified by Burris Ewell's behavior. Chapter 4 begins with Scout describing her dislike of school. Scout finds mysterious gifts in a tree knothole near the Radley house, gum and pennies. Dill returns for summer. The children create a dramatic play about Boo Radley. Chapter 5 begins with Scout spending time with Miss Maudie. Scout drifts from Jem and Dill. Miss Maudie explains Boo Radley's history kindly and criticizes the children's cruelty. The boys attempt to send Boo a note on a fishing pole. Chapter 6 begins with Dill staying past summer. The children sneak into the Radley yard at night. Nathan Radley fires a shotgun. Jem loses his pants while escaping. Chapter 7 begins with Jem acting strangely. Jem retrieves his pants and finds them folded and sewn. More gifts appear in the tree. Nathan Radley fills the knothole with cement, claiming the tree is dying. Jem cries when he realizes Boo was trying to communicate. Chapter 8 begins with Maycomb experiencing rare snowfall. It snows. Miss Maudie's house burns down. Someone places a blanket around Scout's shoulders, later revealed to be Boo Radley. Chapter 9 begins with Scout fighting at school. Scout is teased because Atticus is defending a black man, Tom Robinson. Atticus explains why he must take the case. At Christmas, Scout fights her cousin for insulting Atticus. Chapter 10 begins with Scout thinking Atticus is old Scout and Jem see Atticus as unimpressive, until he shoots a rabid dog with expert aim, revealing hidden skill and moral courage. Chapter 11 begins with Jem and Scout passing Mrs. DeBose's house. Mrs. DeBose insults Atticus. Jem destroys her flowers. As punishment, he must read to her daily. After her death, Atticus reveals she was battling morphine addiction, teaching the children about true bravery. Part 2 Chapter 12 begins with Dill not coming for summer. Calpurnia takes the children to her black church. They witness racial divides firsthand. Aunt Alexandra arrives to impose proper behavior. Chapter 13 begins with Aunt Alexandra explaining family heritage. She pressures Atticus to teach the children about the Finch family's gentle breeding, but he struggles with this hypocrisy. Chapter 14 begins with Scout asking about rape. Scout overhears discussion of Tom Robinson's charge. Dill runs away from home and hides under Scout's bed. Chapter 15 begins with tension building in Maycomb. Atticus sits outside the jail to protect Tom. A mob arrives. Scout unknowingly diffuses the mob by speaking to Mr. Cunningham about his son. Chapter 16 begins with the town preparing for trial. The courthouse fills. Scout, Jem, and Dill sit in the black balcony section to watch the trial. Chapter 17 begins with Sheriff Tate testifying. Evidence shows Mayella Ewell was beaten, mostly on the right side. Bob Ewell claims he saw Tom assault her. Chapter 18 begins with Mayella Ewell taking the stand. Mayella's loneliness becomes clear. She accuses Tom, but her testimony is inconsistent. Chapter 19 begins with Tom Robinson testifying. Tom explains he helped Mayella out of kindness. He says he felt sorry for her, a statement that shocks the courtroom. Chapter 20 begins with Dill feeling sick. Mr. Dolphus Raymond explains he pretends to be drunk to give society an excuse for his lifestyle. Atticus delivers his powerful closing argument about equality in court. Chapter 21 begins with Calpurnia bringing a note. The jury deliberates for hours. They return a guilty verdict. The black spectators stand in respect as Atticus leaves. Chapter 22 begins with Jem devastated. Jem struggles to understand injustice. The black community sends food to thank Atticus. Miss Maudie reassures the children that change is slow, but real. Chapter 23 begins with Bob Ewell threatening Atticus. Atticus remains calm. He explains the broken justice system and the existence of different social classes in Maycomb. Chapter 24 begins with Aunt Alexandra's missionary circle meeting. The women discuss distant poor people while ignoring racism at home. Atticus interrupts with news. Tom Robinson has been shot trying to escape prison. Chapter 25 begins with Scout recalling Dill's departure. Tom's death is compared to the senseless killing of a mockingbird. Mr. Underwood criticizes the town's cruelty. Chapter 26 begins with Scout back at school. Her teacher condemns Hitler's persecution of Jews, yet tolerates racism at home. Scout notices the hypocrisy. Chapter 27 begins with Bob Ewell's lingering anger. Ewell harasses others connected to the trial. Halloween approaches. Chapter 28 begins with Scout preparing for the Halloween pageant. After the school event, Jem walks Scout home in the dark. They are attacked. Bob Ewell is killed during the struggle. Chapter 29 begins with Scout describing the attack. Scout finally sees Boo Radley, who saved them. Chapter 30 begins with Atticus believing Jem killed Ewell. Sheriff Tate insists Bob Ewell fell on his own knife, protecting Boo from public attention. Chapter 31 begins with Scout escorting Boo home. Scout walks Boo back to his house. Standing on his porch, she sees the neighborhood from his perspective, finally understanding empathy. The novel ends with Atticus reading to Scout as she falls asleep.